What's going on, everybody? Let me get the screens sorted out here. I didn't think it would pop me up on the little screen. There we go. What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. That means it's time for Proper Royals Live. Tonight, we got Marks and Cheryl on the show from Creation Collective. I got the chance to meet them. They're a husband and wife breeder team out of, I think out of Tampa, but certainly out of Southwest Florida. I met them at the Tampa Repticon. Maybe that was November, October. I don't know. Sometime fairly recently, a few months back. We got to have dinner together, got to hang out, and really kind of hit it off. And I was like, you know, I learned more and more about them, and I was like, guys, I got to get you on the show. We got to hang out. We got to do this more. And now here we are. So it's a great example of real life relationships. And again, people that just intrigue me, have a story to share, and good people on top of it. Like anybody that welcomes me at their table without question or conditions is, I mean, that's the litmus test of good people right there. That's all it takes. So welcome. I'm glad that you checked in tonight and that you're checking out the show. I saw, who did I see? John, Jeremy, Brandon, Tag, Reptiles in the show tonight. In the audience, who else is out there? Alan, Creme de la Clutch is here. What's up, Snakes for the Memories? They are going to be vending right next to me in Orlando, not this weekend, but next weekend at the Repticon, Snakes for the Memories. I think it's their first show vending. Is that right? I think so. Bryce, Darnell, I think you're a new viewer. Thanks for checking out the show tonight. And thank you. Thanks for being here. Whoa, Nikki from across the pond, pulling the late night shift in UK. It's a rough week for our boys at Liverpool. But you know, hey, life goes on. That's the Premier League. Hey, they're doing all right in the FA Cup, I think, unless they lost the FA Cup game. Maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You didn't come here for soccer, football, footy updates. Hey, it's been a crazy, stupid week. I never really thought I would need to say this on this show. If you come here looking for how do I put it? Recreational trashing of other people, just go to another show. It's not here. You're all welcome here. I cannot imagine for the life of me why in a ball python show audience, other than somebody for the sheer joy of being a jerk to be a jerk, I can't imagine why else you wouldn't be welcome. So everybody welcome, be yourself. I don't really care about your politics or my politics for that matter for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. And beyond that, be a decent person. Does that cover the bases? That make clear where I stand? Because all any of us want is a level playing field and a fair opportunity. And this is a safe place for that kind of thing. So there you go. If you got any questions, you can message me directly, and I can clarify any questions. I'm just not getting into that crap, and I'm not going to apply any more attention to that nonsense. We got better things to get on to. So there you go. Hey, check out Warfle's Morphs if you get a chance. Jeremy Warfle, he just had a killer show with Bob Vu, and like, I don't really get caught up in the celebrity of things. And honestly, actually, I'd never personally interacted with Bob before. He's been at some of the shows that I've worked at in Tampa. Certainly was at Daytona and actually did a lot of the auctioning at the Daytona US ARC auction. But as far as like interacting with Bob, I've never had a personal conversation with Bob in my life. He was really fantastic. And I know a lot of people have opinions. I've heard like hush comments about Bob before, but man, what a great interview that was with Jeremy. And I'm really glad that I got to formulate my own opinion of him. So check out the Warfle's Morph show with Bob Vu. I did also see he's about to be on Keys Constrictors as well with Terry and Keisha. So check them out. Bob Vu helping out the podcast community. I feel like maybe he's got to swing by, you know? I also saw, which was another great episode, I got to say, Jeremy and Jeannie Bod, who, if you've ever seen my show, I think the world of the two of them. They've been fantastic to me. And they will be on. I finally got my calendar in the right place. The year ended. I got to move 2023 over to the right place. Jeremy and Jeannie will be on the show with me March 14th. They'll be the pre-St. Patty's Day. Not that that has anything to do with reptiles, but you know what I'm saying. March 14th, they'll be on the show. They were on Herp Collectors with Mike, and Mike's out of Gainesville. Mike's down the road from me. Mike was kind enough to come on my show, and we had a real good time. And he's got a great podcast of his own. Herp Collectors is the name of it. If you get a chance, if somebody in the audience wants to slap that up there, Herp Collectors. But that was a really great episode with Jeremy and Jeannie. Just so down to earth, such honest, transparent, good people. Like I've been thinking. So I took on this new consulting client in restaurants, and one of the topics I really talk about is moving on from transactions to service and hospitality. If you could provide hospitality and service without the expectation of a transaction, more often than not, the transaction happens. If you put the customer first, if you put other people first, if you put the experience first, great things happen. And that was really what was just coming to mind when I would hear Jeremy and Jeannie just talk about their operation. When I think about what they've done for me, they've opened their home to me, always looked out for me, and I own several of their animals that they've produced. So anyway, check out Bod's Exotic Reptiles on Mike at Herp Collectors podcast. I've suddenly got like some balance in my life finally. One of the themes tonight is running multiple businesses. So one of my clients came way down of what they need from me starting in 2023, which was a time of consternation, great concern. But I picked up another client that only uses me about half the time. So I can finally catch up on some of the podcasts from around the industry, see what my colleagues are doing. And man, all of them, everybody, you got to have your mic. Like, I want to do a calendar of like microphone podcasters, microphone shots. Like, I'm going to cuddle with my, it's absolutely ridiculous and unnecessary. Every podcaster has like, how obtrusive can they make the microphone? I'm giving them all a hard time. They're all killing it, and I'm very, very happy for them. I got my ultrasound arrived this week. I gave a maiden voyage with my ultrasound. Thanks so much to Jesse Music. He came up 3 months ago, 6-8 weeks ago. I guess it'd be 2 months maybe. Before the holidays, he came up from Musical Pythons. He came up. He was kind enough to ultrasound all my breeder females. Gave me a real good baseline chart of where they were starting, and I plotted out based on their measurements when I would start pairing and how I would pair and that sort of thing. And I got to follow up that ultrasound with fresh data this week, and I'll do that again in about another 3 weeks or so. So I've been watching all the ultrasound videos I can. It definitely takes some time and practice, and you're going to have to figure it out. But I'm happy to have it. It's a really cool thing to see these immature egg follicles in the snake. Like, it's incredible. I think that's it. What do I got? Oh, no, it's not it. This weekend, if you are in North Florida, there's a Show Me Snakes show here in Jacksonville, and I will be vending my very first show. It's a one-day show on Saturday. Show Me Snakes, not Show Me Snakes, Show Me Reptiles, excuse me, Show Me Reptiles show. You're going to have to Google it. The location's off of Beach Boulevard here in Jacksonville, Florida. And let's see, 9 a.m. is the VIP admission. If you want to come early, it's an extra $5, but you get to pick over everybody's collection before anybody else comes in. So if there's something, if you got a pocket full of money, spend the extra $5 and come early, come hang out with the breeders. I'm sure you get full attention from us all. General admission at 10 a.m. and I think the show goes till 3 or 3:30. So kind of a nice first show for me. One-day trip, and then next week I will be in Orlando at the Repticon, vending under my own banner for the first time at a Repticon, and that Orlando show I'm excited to be at. I also, because I'm a madman and don't know how to pace myself in life, January 20th, I will be at Finn McCool's here in Jacksonville performing live music. On January 26th, Thursday night, I'll be performing with the band Spade McQuaid. We'll be opening for the Young Dubliners, legends on the Celtic rock scene. We get to open for them that night. The 27th, I'll be playing under my own banner, Adam Shira Music, with a fiddle player at Hibernia Pub in Orange Park, Florida, across the river from Jacksonville. And then the 28th, I will be at the Celtic Ray in Punta Gorda, 3 nights in a row of live music for Adam. So I do Show Me Reptiles, I do Repticon, and then I go hit the road. And that's on top of my job. Pace myself, never. So, hey, tonight, Marks and Cheryl, I met them at the Tampa Repticon. And I don't know. I don't think anybody actually introduced us. I think I just stopped by. Their display is phenomenal. And I just got to talking with them, and just 2 outgoing, caring personalities. We talked at the show for quite a bit. And then Steve Casino, if you ever get a chance to hang out with that guy or go vend, he puts together kind of a breeder's dinner. Seems to be a pretty informal thing. But a bunch of us got together, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 after the show, and ended up sitting next to Marks and Cheryl at dinner that night, and just the good times kept going. So a very interesting couple and great people. Please welcome for the very first time to the Proper Royals stage, Marks and Cheryl. They are Creation Collective. What's going on, Marks and Cheryl? How are you?
Hey, Adam, we're good.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, glad to be here too. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Like, we talked about, I mean, I remember meeting you saying, hey, I got to get you on the show. And now, like, here we are. This is like, a lot of times people ask, you know, why do I do this show? Or it's got to be a lot of work, but it's really just a great chance to keep and maintain relationships. And like, we literally couldn't have done this 15 or 20 years ago. The technology didn't exist. The distance between you're 5 hours away, but you could be anywhere in the world. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good to get together and chop it up, and you know, keep it light and learn things about each other. You know, we're watching your intro, and Cheryl and I are talking about, get a pen, write down those dates so we can go watch, you know, play live. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Well, I mean, we would like to do that. So how else would we know?
I'm working hard on, so, you know, pulling back the curtain of logistics. Like, there's the logistics of the reptile shows. You're starting probably 2 to 3 days in advance, labeling your displays, you're double checking your checklists, all that. So the music thing, I'm looking at my calendar over here. So I've got to travel 5 hours on Friday and be on stage by 1 p.m. So that means I got to take into account traffic, anything that could happen. And that's my biggest day of the year, St. Paddy's Day. So that means I'm going to get a hotel the night before, which means if I'm already traveling, I may as well pick up a gig the night before. And if I'm already heading down to Punta Gorda, maybe I'll do it in Tampa because I got friends there. Like, you all on the spot, but I could stay for free. So if I could stay somewhere for free and I'm already there, I've already spent the gas and I have a night open, I gotta get a gig somewhere. I gotta book a gig in Tampa. The 16th is going to be my goal. So hopefully I'll do 3 days in a row in March there.
All right. Well, we're going to be looking out for it, man. We want to stroll in on you.
Okay. All right. Well, I got a couple anchor like contacts in various places, but Tampa's one that I haven't nailed down yet. Like, Jacksonville, I got Daytona, Savannah, Punta Gorda. I need something between that Jacksonville, Punta Gorda to figure out logistics to make things.
Punta Gorda's not bad for us. We travel down there. We like it down there.
Oh, it's a killer place. I go there. I go there once a month. I love it. They pay well. The hotel is across the street and it's right on the water, man. It's like a little vacation that I get paid for, and I get to play music. So it's fun, man.
Yeah, it's a nice area. You wouldn't tell by the name.
Oh, Punta Gorda? Yeah. What's that translate to? Fat Point?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Fat Point. I don't know. I don't even. Earthly.
Yeah. It's not a pleasant translation. You know. So it sounds so beautiful.
Yeah. It's well, then it far exceeds that reputation. It's a wonderful place. I
Yeah, we travel down there. Yeah,
Um,
we used to, in fact, we used to work some bodybuilding shows they had down there, believe it or not.
where are you based out of? Tampa Bay is this like sprawling area. Where are you based out of?
Yeah, we were both born in Tampa.
Okay.
But now we live just a little bit north of Tampa in the Pasco County area.
Oh,
Yeah, we're still really close to Tampa. So 5-minute ride and we're probably crossing the county line.
I see. So my friends that I stay with, they live in Wesley Chapel, which is up that way, isn't it?
Right around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, who knows? Maybe I'll be playing right in your neighborhood, and you know, we can have a beverage. You won't have to.
That would be cool.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely buy you dinner.
Okay, all right, deal. Well, I will. I mean, I'll for sure. Part of why I can't be at the Tampa show in February, I can't vend it. I mean, it's sold out for vendors, but usually people give up a table or something if you know, contacts and stuff. But I have to be in Punta Gorda that Sunday as well. So I go to Punta Gorda once a month until the snowbirds go home, until like May kind of thing.
Getting your miles in.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to get your expenses, and you know, they twist my arm, would feed me, give me a bar tab and a hotel room. Like, what else am I going to do on a weekend for fun? You know?
Yeah, they should all be so lucky.
I am a thankful man. And that is not smug. That's not tongue in cheek. I was just reminiscing before I came on how like thankful and happy I am to be able to do this on a Tuesday night and to do those shows and all of that. Give everybody an introduction about yourselves. I did the best that I could, but I know there's a whole lot of gaps. Tell us about the Reptiles. Tell us about Creation Collective.
Creation Collective. That's an interesting one. So when I was younger, when I was a kid, back in Florida back then, you could have the big snakes.
Okay.
So the berms, the big retics, you know, that's what we were after. We were after the biggest snake we could find, something that you had to feed a small goat to.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I mean, that was the fun part of it. You know, of course, we like to grab snakes out of the, you know, the bushes and whatnot, but the retics, the berms, those were always the things that caught our eye and we wanted to get a hold of, the anacondas.
Now, is that you and Cheryl, or was that pre-Cheryl?
Yeah, no.
That's pre-Cheryl.
Very pre-Cheryl. Yeah. When I say we, I mean me and the boys from the neighborhood. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, which is actually funny because growing up, you know, Cheryl and I grew up in the same town. And after meeting one another and kind of talking about growing up in Tampa, we had a number of near misses where we should have met each other. Like her best friend lived 3 houses down from where I grew up.
That's great, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was cool. It's cool. You know, the experiences growing up, I think because they were so parallel, kind of gave us a baseline when we met of familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really easy. I mean, if you look at her, it's not hard to understand why. But yeah, no, it's growing up in the same town definitely has been fun because we remember a lot of the same things and things around town. So yeah, but back in those days when we had snakes, I figured out that if I could get these things to breed, that I could make more of them and trade them for more snakes and lizards and whatnot. So that was the goal then. You know, just can I make these things make more of something that I can get more of something else I can't pay for because I'm young and I can't manage money and, you know, mowing lawns isn't cutting it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's how that kind of got started for me.
I joke with people, they're like, snakes? And I'm like, yeah, man, ball pythons, they're the ones. And I know you have a much wider collection, but they kind of give me this face and like to set them at ease. You know, you always make a joke to ease, you know, somebody's pain, so to speak. And I'm like, here's the difference. No matter how many guitars I stick in the same room, they're never going to pop out a bunch of little guitars.
Yeah.
Snakes will, man. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. That was the thing, you know, make snakes to buy more snakes or trade for more snakes. I remember the very first snakes that I bred were a pair of Dumerals.
Okay.
And, you know, back in those days, we had them in glass aquariums and wood enclosures. And we didn't have racks and things that, you know, PVC enclosures like we have now. And living in Florida, I just used the ambient temperature outside. I lifted the window in the room that they were in. And when it got cold, I shut it and I had a great time and lots of success breeding boas. And I remember the very first litter that I had, I took the whole litter to a reptile show in Miami and saw a guy that had a snake that I wanted. And I said, you want to trade all these for that snake? And he said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And I was happy to do it. And that's what kind of started it for me. Cheryl got on a different path later in life after we met. I'll let her chime in on that one. That's a pretty cool story too, because it involves our daughter, my stepdaughter, Cheryl's daughter.
Yeah, my daughter asked for a snake for Christmas. I had no idea of his background with snakes whatsoever. And she wanted a snake for Christmas. And I said, well, I don't know. Timing's everything. Let me wait and ask Marks. And we were out to a real nice dinner date. And I said, hey, Emily wants a snake for Christmas. And his eyes lit up and he was like, I think that's a great idea. I used to breed snakes. And then the whole story came out. And she got a snake. And it wasn't, 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe? He was off on a hunting trip with some friends. And then Emily and I loaded up and we met Medusa's morphs over there in Brooksville. And I bought a snake from her. And just one thing led to the other. And you can't just have two.
No.
So,
I told her when she brought that snake home, I said, you're going to breed these.
I was like, what? I was like, no way. Never.
Yeah,
There's no way. This is just a pet.
You're definitely going to do it. You're going to breed them. It's so cool. Wait till you see.
Yeah. He's like, but you could breed him. I'm like, yeah, you probably could breed it, but I'm not going to breed him. It didn't take long to sing a different song. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
18? Yeah, 18.
2018 or 18 years ago?
2018. 2018 is when we got involved together. So just a handful of years ago.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so when did the vending start? When did it become more sort of business oriented, or is it business oriented? Are you still happy to trade and just kind of maintain, break even kind of stuff, or pay for yourself kind of hobby?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty interesting question, because it is a multifaceted answer. I think, I think when we first started really diving in and saying, okay, we're gonna formulate a collection of these animals that we like to look at, things that we love to see, things that we want to keep, and we're gonna breed them to produce things that we like to see and like to keep. And then the idea came in that we can use this as a business to fund itself, because Cheryl and I have had a lot of hobbies together prior to this, and just about anything that you can imagine. And for the most part, most hobbies don't bring a return in financially.
Right.
You just continually dump money into them.
Yeah.
But through finding what we liked and what we like to look at, what we want to endeavor upon, and then wanting to share that with people, it just kind of naturally came together where, if selling these or selling some of them can help fund some of it, then that's what we'll do. And I think we kind of approached it the way we approach a lot of things, whereas we want to do it the best that we can. If we're going to embark on this and make it, a business, we have to remember, there's different aspects, because they're not dry goods, they're animals.
Right.
And we don't want to lose sight of these are animals and we need to treat them as such, but we can look at the market. And if we can cater to the market and still do what we like, then great. We're still fortunate. We're still fortunate because we have other streams of income right now, and don't have to rely 100% on the breeding program to finance more of the breeding program. And we're both enablers. So if she's like, hey, I think I want to get into this project, I'm like, yeah, I think you should project. In fact, I really like the idea of that.
I don't think we've ever told one another no, which is good, because I feel the freedom, like, okay, if I want to do something, I can do it. But at the same time, I guess we don't really ask or endeavor. We kind of govern ourselves in that way. We don't ever get in over our head, but we definitely have never told each other no for something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because what's the fun in that?
Yeah. Well, it just, see, for me, I'm lucky because my wife this is like the worst I've ever described her, and I mean it in a compliment. She is the counterbalance to me. I was going to say she's like a good brake pedal, but that is not what I said. That is not what I meant.
Direct quote.
I'm not calling her a Porsche part of the car.
No, it's a good she makes me think through the decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She doesn't stand in the way. I mean, clearly she doesn't stand in the way. I've been running this show for 2 years now and got a room full of snakes in a garage. Like, clearly I'm doing fine on this endeavor. Yeah. But from I'm really open with her. I talked to her about it. Hey, we're coming up on the end of the year. We're either going to pay some taxes or I can work on raising the expenses. I knew I was going to buy an ultrasound sometime soon. I knew I needed a new computer. So we talked through those things. On the specific project, she's less excited, or she's interested, but she doesn't want to be the one breeding or cleaning, or she will. She'll help me out, but she's not super excited about that. But yeah, she supports my excitement, and like, I can't ask for more than that. How lucky am I to even be able to say that sentence? So
that's the key.
Yeah, and it's really cool that way. So I always roll my eyes, and she was like, "What was I gonna marry a boring guy?" And I'm like, "No."
I must back her up on that. If I listen to your interest in the things that you're involved in, breeding snakes, music, and then the wine and restaurant consulting, the restaurant business in general. Those are 3 very hard industries. I mean, they take a lot of fortitude, and you better be loving it to stick in it and make it work good. So, I mean, kudos to you, man. Like, you're a special kind of dude.
Or what's the expression? Special kind of stupid? I mean, it's a thin line, because
it's only stupid if it didn't work. That's true. The thing.
But you know what? I would only advocate that people get into 2 out of the 3 of those things, and that's snakes and music. I think
there you go. Yeah.
I think, for me, restaurants has been a vessel or a pathway to being a teacher and a leader, and I enjoy seeing people grow and develop, and it tends to be the time of their lives when they work in a restaurant is where they're sort of finding themselves. So it's a really cool journey to watch.
Yeah.
As a business model, I will never own my own restaurant. I'll help other people till I, fall over, but I'll never own my own restaurant. But I would own my own snake company and certainly my own music company. So
yeah. I think it's interesting that you touched on that point when you were describing being in the restaurant industry that allowed you to do some things that you naturally gravitate or want to do, which is the teaching thing and honing in on people's needs. Because that, I think, is the key, really, when you get yourself into something. If it hits on some of those points that are inherently you, or inherently something you feel like you want to do or you identify as, that's going to be the longevity of whatever you get yourself into.
Great point. I couldn't agree more. It's that core passion, and however that expresses itself. If an artist were able to express themselves in repainting cars, you might not make that connection, but it'd be a great thing, or whatever the analogy would be. And that's sort of how it is with restaurants with me. Plus, I really I am a caring, giving person. So when I can serve food that I think an amazing chef has put together, and I can provide the experience that, I don't know, I always make up little backstories in my mind, like, maybe this is a couple that's going through a hard time or trying to reconcile, and this can be the most special evening they've had in years, or a mother and a daughter that haven't had dinner in years, or whatever, just something special, and make just looking for those opportunities to make things special is really neat to me. And I know that's cheesy and all that, but it really is me, and it's what's this show allows me to do that too, and to meet people and connect with people that way. So all of that is the restaurant altogether. Plus the pace of it, the money's good, blah, 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 all of it. I love it all, man.
Yeah. I like that. And I'll back up that one thing you were mentioning about, creating an atmosphere where maybe a couple has a beautiful evening over a meal.
Yeah.
I will attest there's a lot of magic in food.
There is.
Yeah. I'm Italian, so I got that fat gene in me. We like to eat.
Well, and then I'm sorry, I'm going to take I'm going to take liberty and make some assumptions, but a traditional Italian culture, most of the most special memories in life are made around a table and with huge family. And the more like an empty seat is a missed opportunity for, you know, an amazing memory or, you know, so I love that mindset. I love at every holiday I have here at the house. I always, you know, who knows what everybody's religion or prayer situation might be, but I always tell everybody, man, I'm so thankful that the seats are full and I have a full table at the holiday. You know, it's just a special time for me.
Yeah, yeah. Sharing food, you know, that's a big thing. That is, and you're right about the Italian culture. Signs of respect and friendship, they offer food. So
that's right.
Cheryl and I hit on that early, the food part. I remember when we first met, you know, one of our first dates, we went out to eat, and, you know, I'm not shy about eating, and I was hoping that she wasn't. Of course, you know, we had fun. We ate, you know, we were both prepping for shows and had just, we had just finished our season. So the diet was opening up of things we could enjoy. And we went out together and we had some sushi, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I'm thinking, this is her, like, she's the one. And it's funny because we ate, and I'll tell you a story. It's funny. The waiter, when we finally tabbed out, he came and he's like, "Oh, thank God. I was so glad you guys were ready to go, because I was going to have to start a whole new list." Yeah, a whole new ticket. But yeah, and it's funny because after that, she had went back to a mutual friend of ours and our buddy Sean. And I had told Sean the next day, I said, "Sean, this girl can eat. I'm going to marry her." And I, you know, of course, mentioned it to her. He said, "Yeah, no," he said, "you could really eat." And she said,
and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I've always felt bad because I've always been the girl that never stopped eating. You know, all the other girls want to pick, and I'm like, you know, that's an appetizer, or you made it a meal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Sean at the locker room at the gym the next day, he was like, "Man, Mark said you really know how to eat." And I was like, what was his tone? Like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, no, it's good. It's good. Mark likes to eat. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go. I want to do like a whole little segment on that. And so we'll add some context to the eating and the season, because I think we might have glossed that over. But
let's circle back to the eating thing. That always happens.
Because it's incredibly interesting to me, the bigger topic. But let's talk about some reptiles and stuff. At least at the front of the show, and then we'll get to some of the more interpersonal stuff after. So what kind of species are you working with these days?
You want me to take this?
Yeah, we got a laundry list.
Yeah, you jump in if I miss anything.
Yeah.
Of course, we're doing ball pythons. That's the bulk of our collection, believe it or not.
Okay.
That's the main thing we got over here. Is we got a lot of ball pythons, simply because of the genetics. You know, when we were first kind of getting back into it together, we kind of made made what it was going to look like for us from a breeding standpoint and keeping standpoint, which is she's got her things that she wants to work on, and those are her animals, and I've got my own crew. So it works beautifully. Because I don't go into her tubs. I don't clean her snakes. I don't keep records on them. None of that, you know, those are her projects. And I have my whole separate own projects.
Oh, wow.
So so in doing that really opened up the door to bring a lot of different ball python genetics into the collection. So that's probably at the forefront of what we're doing. We are keeping boa constrictors, and we keep BC. You know, we've got the true red tails. Interestingly enough, that was one of the first snakes I told Cheryl. I said, we got to get some red tails. You're going to love these animals. I gotta find one. And interestingly enough, she was the one that pulled the trigger first, and she got in, and we're raising the BCs, the red tails, Surinams. We do the imperators, the different mutations with the boa imperators, and we have some pets. We have some one-off animals that we just really love. The Dumeral's boa is one that Cheryl picked up as a pet, you know, and I had described these to her as something that had bred a long time ago, and I really found a lot of enjoyment from these animals. I remember the first time I saw one, in my mind, I had never seen anything like this, and, you know, when she saw one, she felt the same way, so she picked up one, and then, You also have the Russian rat. Yep. The L. You can say it. I can never remember. There you go. She knows the genus name and she can rattle it off. But yeah, I'm not. I can't repeat that. It's like Chinese to me. So we do have colubrids, corn snakes. We have some corn snakes over here that we're keeping. We keep Morelia. So yeah. I've got some McDowell up there, some coastal carpets, and some jungle carpet pythons. Yeah, I have a 2-2 set of gelatin jungles, which is, believe it or not, a locality jungle python from the north side of the Black Mountain Corridor in Australia. So these jungles are really cool. Normally you'll see like a black and yellow is the typical jungle phenotype, but these come straight out of the wild as a black and white animal with green accents. It's a very attractive phenotype, and it's not a mutation. It's just how they come out of the wild. Huh. So I was able to pick up some of those and looking to have potentially a litter of the gelatins this year. So it'll be nice to have some baby jungles running around.
Yeah, there can't be many people breeding those, huh?
Yeah, no, they came straight from a gentleman named Nick Mutton, who is at the forefront of the Morelia community. Okay. And has found the ability to bring Morelia into the United States from different sources and keep the species pure along the way. By whatever means he does that, he knows. But if you wanted a purebred species of carpet, he would be one of the gentlemen that you would talk to first. And when I acquired these from him, he let me know. He said, these are very exclusive. There's about 35 of these in the United States, and I have most of them. Yeah. So yeah, he's since been producing more litters and letting them out to the public. But yeah, I have a 1-1 set of 17s and a 1-1 set of 19s. So they're old enough, they're mature, they'll be mature enough to be producing. So the baby jungles they're fun to keep. They got little attitudes, but they're really cool. And the jungles, we always used to talk about this when we were kind of getting started, where the carpet pythons are a nice kind of in between from the boas and the ball pythons. They're very athletic, very. I was going to ask
where in that spectrum they are. So you see them as I don't know what the right word is, maybe not friendlier, but manageable or handleable in between the two.
I think with the carpet python, for the most part, because you're going to find some that are on either end of the spectrum, but sure. I'm saying for the most part, what you're going to see from a carpet python is you get what you put in. Okay. So if you approach the animal in a certain manner, you're probably going to get back what you put in with them. Gotcha. But if you take the time to learn the animal and its demeanors, then you can make away with that animal. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say you're going to develop a relationship, but there will definitely be a certain level of trust and understanding. Yeah. And, I have some that are puppy dog tame. Yeah. And I don't know if it's true for all breeders that have the carpet pythons, but I will say for me, the females seem to be the more relaxed, and they'll tolerate a little bit more. Okay. And they don't mind being touched. The males that I have, while they're not striking at me and trying to bite my face off, they don't like to be touched. They don't mind coming out. If I grab them quick and I take them out and I let them climb on some of the enrichment sets we have for the animals that like to climb and move around a lot, they're fine. Yeah. You can buy them. There's very little you can do to startle them. They'll come, and they'll try to get up in your face and see how you are and sniff you out and things like that. So, they're not looking to start a fight.
That takes some trust, though, if they want to get up near the face, man.
Yeah. I can't lie. I push the envelope sometimes. That's how I learn them. I don't know. I seem to be. It's done me. It's served me well so far.
I had this moment when you paused there. I was like, he's about to tell me that's why he grew the beard, was to cover up the damage from a.
Yeah, fortunately, no. Yeah, no. This was kind of a spontaneous type of thing. I don't know. I think it has a shelf life, though. Yeah.
Mine, I gotta find it. I'll have to post it on Instagram. When I lived in North Carolina, in my past 10 of the past 12 years, I lived in North Carolina up in pretty high elevation as far as East Coast elevations go. And the cold, dry air, I would grow a beard there, and it didn't bother me. And I would mountain man it out, man. Here in Florida.
So are you a full beard kind of guy?
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go find. I'm gonna have to do like a showcase of you and Cheryl for a minute, and I'll find a screenshot for it. Yeah, it is full, like, you know. Anyway, but yeah, here in Florida, I can't do it. The humidity and the heat, even this time of year, like I'm not growing a beard down here.
Yeah. I presume once the weather starts warming up a little bit, I'll have had enough.
Yeah,
but we'll see. You know, it's funny. It's years ago, I grew a goatee, and I have a younger brother and sister, and I grew it, you know, whatever. And I showed up at my sister's birthday party. She's 7 years younger than me at the time. She was probably 17 or 18, and her friends were there, and they're asking my younger brother, "Who's the Guido standing around with your sister?" They're talking about me. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot and run the Guido look for a little while. Who knows? Well, I get a gold chain. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could. Yeah. Never mind. It's gonna say you gotta let the chest hair out though with it too. All right, we're gone too far now. You
gotta own it. You know, I don't know. Yeah, you gotta own it. Whatever you do, you gotta own it.
That's right. So somebody, Bryce asked earlier, and I was kind of along the same lines. What do you find with the pros and the cons of all the different species, and what about the husbandry? Like, what about the temperatures and the settings, and you know, talk about some of that variety or those challenges.
Yeah, I guess I'll throw it out there and then jump in because I want to get your perspectives on it too. But to answer the question, temperatures. So we don't run ambient temperature in our room. All of the enclosures and the racks have belly heat, so we're able to manipulate that. I did my first breeding this year with boas in the same room as my ball pythons.
Okay.
And it's so far it's been a success.
Okay.
I had my females ovulated and they've been temping out and staying under the heat so far. Of course, they're not due until like the March time. So we'll see, you know, what the turnout is. Yeah. But I'm finding that with the belly heat, I can keep an ambient temperature that's still good for the boas because they do like it a little cooler, but still keep it warm enough that the ball pythons aren't suffering. The temperatures that we're keeping that room at right now has been successful for ball python breeding since the inception, so we're good there. I will say though, this particular room may be too warm for the jungles.
I was going to say, what's typical, like typically if they weren't in the same room, what would it go? Ball pythons, boas, and then jungles, or what would the temperature gradient sort of be?
As far as heat, the jungles, the Morelia, they don't need it super hot. In fact, they're not going to like it super hot.
Okay.
During the winter months, starting in November, I shut the heat off completely. Okay. Yeah, and of course, you know, I'm backing down the food to nothing. So they're going, you know, November, December into January, you know, not eating. They're not necessarily brumating. It's not getting that cold in there. That room is getting, when it gets cold outside, probably into the lower to mid 70s for a very short period of time. And then back up to around 80, 81 during the winter. You know, during the summer, it's getting a little bit warmer. But I think what I'm seeing now is possibly with the jungles, to really spark the females in the breeding, I'm going to have to get them to that lower range in the 70s for longer periods of time. We'll see. You know, I'm kind of watching I'm watching the females this year, and they're giving me mixed signals on, you know, what's going to happen. That's not really the snake that I'm going to pull out and put an ultrasound on.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I I'm presuming that I may need to answer the question as to whether or not I'm going to move the juncos out, but the boas and the balls seem to be good in the same room as far as temperatures go, with the way that our setup is.
Yeah.
With the belly heat.
Because like Mark's, he builds our enclosures. So the balls are in a traditional rack, but the boas actually have vision cages with radiant heat panels. So that's the difference on the boa constrictors. They actually have their own setup.
Sure.
Pretty good size, you know, so they don't have the belly heat, and they're not in a rack. So,
Yeah.
And then we have another room off to the side that's just boa as well. So we have some with the balls, and then we have a boa room with just the boas.
Yeah, and that room's excellent. You know, you can do whatever you want for the boas in there. So we're not having any problem. That's been the room for the boas up until this year when I kind of made the switch over. So I don't know, for folks that want to keep boas and balls in the same room, if you got belly heat, and your ambient temperatures in the winter in there can be around 80, 81. And then in the summer, up around 84. It gets pretty warm in there some days, 84, 85, you know, ambient temperature. If you want to do the balls and the boas in the same room like that, we've had good luck with it. So I would say go for it.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd be interested to see, because I know that not me, I'm probably not ever going to breed. I say not ever. If you told me 4 years ago, I'd have a room full of, 100 ball pythons. You would never know. But I know that there's a lot of people that breed both, and a lot, even in the audience tonight. I know Chris, Jeremy, both do. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah. Yeah. The boas are, they're a great experience. They really are. I was talking to Glenn from TAG just today about that, and he was talking about endeavoring into a boa breeding project. And I said, go for it. And I always encourage everybody, if you're ready and you think you want to do it, do it. Just do it. If you're ready and you think you want to do it, those are the big things. So ready is a very encompassing
right. There's
kind of stipulation, but just saying that it for the sake of conversation is, but I mean it. If you're ready and you think you want to do it because it's very enjoyable. And I don't think anybody that's ready and embarks on a boa breeding project and has it come to fruition is ever going to say, I really didn't like that experience. They may not do it forever, but I think they're going to enjoy it.
So I'm not going to name names because sometimes personal conversations are personal and they're just venting. I have heard one ball python breeder that has a significant amount of boas, and I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I get the feeling these days he would take his ball pythons over his boas just because of the temperament of the boas. I have no idea about the business side of it or even the excitement. I don't know anything about boas other than just sort of scratching the surface, but I know nothing about the genetics and the breeding that goes with it. How do you find the temperament of your boas? I mean, they're not the pet. They're not the first pet kind of snake, right?
Oh wow!
Jump in. Yeah. I'll let Cheryl talk about it because she's relatively newer to boas than I would be. So yeah, I'll let her get in on that because I like her take on it.
Okay.
I think in the beginning, going into it, I always caught the little snakes in the backyard when I was a kid, and they're small. When I got into it, my first snake was a ball python. Mark was talking about the boas. We actually saw a full-grown Suriname at one of our first shows that we went to, and he was huge. And I thought, well, maybe not the big snakes. Maybe as we started with some centrals for me for some of my projects. I did get the Surinames I got him as a baby because I wanted to watch him grow up. But I really like the boa. They're very smart. They're very slow moving. Very curious. They enjoy they want to come out. We see ours come to the front door of their enclosure. They want to come out. They want to look around. It's a totally different experience than with a ball python. And breeding them so far is been more rewarding because it's not you just stick a snake in a drawer and close the drawer and they do whatever they're going to do. You really have to watch them. You have to know them. You have to read the signals of the female to see if she's ready. If she's receptive, they court one another. They stay in there for days at a time. So when you finally get that ovulation, it feels like victory, even though you really did nothing. You just observed the whole thing.
Right.
But it's much more interactive between the keeper and the animal. breeding the boa than just breeding the ball python.
Yeah, I'll agree with all that. I'll say that, you know, and I'll add to that what she was saying about the whole breeding process between the male and the female. Watching the song and dance is you're watching nature happen.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's really fun to watch. I'll tell you that when the female is receptive to the male, and he gets in there and he'll crawl up on top of her and kind of ride her around a little bit, and when she's receptive and everything starts to click, it's really kind of cool to watch her. She'll start protecting that male. She'll coil in around him. Yeah, she'll coil in around him, and you can really see that they're making this natural connection right in front of you. You know, now that's not to say that I'm in their enclosures every day looking at them and peeking at them because you want to give them their privacy. But in fact, with the females that we're breeding, we put blinds, you know, on the windows of their enclosures. That way they do feel a little bit more secure and they can do their business without people, you know, looking at them or whatever the case may be. It seems to have worked for us. But yeah, the interaction is watching the interaction is very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. In the birth, I mean, if you really like snakes and you really are into nature and the workings of these animals, watching a live birth it's almost where it's at.
Yeah, and for those of us that are total rookies and noobs with the boas, I know they give live births, but how are they in an egg sac? Are they out as you know, exposed animals? And how many do you usually get in a clutch?
Yeah, so your litter sizes are really going to depend on the size of your female. Some of the Central American females that we have are relatively small in terms of boas in general. You know, we have breeder size females that are just starting to crest 4 feet long. So they're not these big, massive snakes. Now, they have the potential to get big and they'll never stop growing. Whereas, you know, we have a 20-year-old Central American female from Pete Kyle's collection that's near 7 feet, little over 7 feet, and she's big, but she's 20 years old.
Yeah. You said they never stop growing. So, I mean, like lengthwise as well? Or, I mean, they're never going to stop growing. You can regulate the growth, you know, by feeding them properly as they get to adulthood. You know, so there are different considerations there. Are you going to breed it this year? Is she nearing her breeding season? Does she need fat stores? You know, all those things considered will kind of determine how you feed the animal, and then also determine how fast they grow once they become adults. So we do feed them much differently than we do our ball pythons. But, you know, in terms of how big are the litters? So our smaller Central American girls, you know, they're going to give us 6, 7, 8. Okay.
Some of the bigger imperators that we have, these girls, you know, are 6, 7 foot long, maybe a little longer. Those girls can give you 20 or 25. So there's a lot of range there. Yeah. So, you know, 2 litters, you could have 50 babies. and yeah, that could fill up your baby rack depending on how big it is.
No kidding. Yeah. And then, so it's worth mentioning, like your passion for the boas, both of y'all, like, is overflowing. So this next question really is quite secondary to that. What do you see from a business sense, though? Does it make sense if we're only talking business and not your passion? Does it make sense to pursue boas? No, I wouldn't say verse ball pythons, but for this question, boas verse ball. But I realize it doesn't have to be one or the other. But for the sake of ease on the discussion, so I would think that there's less buyers, but maybe less breeders in the game on the boa side. How does it play out for you, or what have you all seen on that?
The market for breeders in the boa community is different than it is for breeders in the ball python community. And there's a lot of different points to touch on, and I hope that I can really get to the meat and potatoes of what we see, because I think it's relevant. And I'll say this right off the rip, I think the boa market would be considered more stable in terms of what you're producing, if you're working with mutations or you're working with localities, specific animals. I think it's more stable in that these animals aren't necessarily easy to breed. So if you don't put in the work and you don't learn the animal and your conditions aren't right, you're going to have a hard time. And even if you do everything right, if the female is not into your male, your season's over if you don't have another male.
Gotcha.
And that's the truth. You know, we just for instance, last season I produced some IMG Arabesque animals that really blew my socks off, and I was really pleased with the way the litter came out. But that dam and that sire I put together the season before, and she was ready. She had size. She was building. She didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
She kicked him straight to the curb. So he was in there for a little while, and after about a month or so of no activity, I put an ultrasound on her, so she was resorbing, and that was it. So you wait till next year. So it's really based on the female. So in saying that, it's not easy. I mean, it's easy if you're willing to put in the time to understand it. It's not something that's going to be so difficult that you're not going to get it. But it commands a little bit of time and effort, and you got to put some stuff into it if you want to get some stuff back. And here's the truth of the matter. And there's breeders out there that have had luck doing it different, but for me, it's one male for one female per season.
Okay. Oh, really?
So that male's not going around to other females. Once he gets done and she ovulates, if I got another female, he's not going to see her. It's going to be another male for that female. If it's a different female, he's out, he's done. He's going to take a rest. I'm going to start feeding him, and he's going to start resting up. And if I'm going to breed him the following year, but it's different. That's different. With the ball pythons, we can find a male, and if he's healthy and he's eating and he's good age and he's got the weight and he looks, like he can, do the deal. I mean, it's not crazy for him to see 5 or 6 females.
Oh, easy. Yeah. I've heard many people, especially when you start talking about ultrasounding, that are telling me they're going 8, 9 females. They've got the timing down. I'm not. Well, I've ultrasounded exactly one time in my life, so I'm not confident in my readings to go down that path just yet. Nor do I have a male that I want to breed to 8 or 9 females, but I might, I guess, in the future. If Alan was on, I think last week. Matter of fact, he was talking about buying like a 5-figure tornado. Maybe that one I'd be breeding through everything I could. So. It would just depend on the angle and what I was going for. So for everybody interested, I was amazed how many comments came up in the chat. I did find the picture of me with the beard. We'll revisit that when we get to back to the food and the stage and the beard conversation. So tell me a little bit about there's somewhere in one of our conversations you all mentioned that I don't know, I was saying I was busy or had something going on or whatever. And you said you understood because you run you've got some other businesses and things that keep you going. So tell us about some of your background behind the scenes, behind the reptiles. What do you all have going on? And tell us a little bit about the life balance of these various businesses and endeavors.
Yeah. So owning a business has been a part of my life for the last couple of decades. I started my other company. I'm in the building industry.
Okay.
And I started a company when I was 23 years old, and I didn't necessarily grow up saying to myself, I want to own my own business. I just really kind of I grew up thinking, I want to make a lot of money.
Right. A fair endeavor, yes. Yeah.
How do I align what I'm doing to get me to where I want to be? That was the kind of the thing. And, in those times, growing up, the money was really good in the building industry. It still is. Mm-hmm. And, I found out real quick that if a guy is self-motivated and has some brains and is willing to, put his physical ability on the line, they could probably do really well really quick.
Okay.
And that it just came natural. But I was working for a guy, and he came to me one day and he said, I'm moving to New York. I said, well, what am I going to do? Start a company and start building stuff. That's what you do.
Yeah.
He said it like that. And I said, yeah, it makes sense. That's what I'm doing. So that's where I started. And, it's taken a lot of my time, and I've over the years structured my business in different ways. And when I met Cheryl, Cheryl jumps in now because we're a team on everything. Cheryl helps me out with those things, and you know, so it's our business now. But I'll tell you, with the animals and the other businesses, the prioritizing is the key. You have to have a plan. You really have to have a plan of how you're going to execute the week, and you have to stick to it. For me, I know she's the same way. You know, when we're going to be in our rooms taking care of our animals, and we have this much time to do it, we have to get in there, and we have to be in that room for that amount of time.
That's right.
And it has to happen. If you miss, you can't go back. You've just lost time. Now you're overbooked.
Yeah.
So, you know, prioritizing is a big thing. So I would say that if anybody wants to really get into a breeding project and you have responsibilities outside of that take a lot of your time, it's doable. It's doable. If you love it and you want to do it, it's going to last. If you love it, it's going to last, and you'll stick with it. It's doable, but you have to make a plan. Every week we have to make a plan. You know, this is when I'm going in. I don't want to be in there when she's in there, you know, because then we're on top of one another because we got different crews.
We get different crews. We get different styles of how we do things. You know, we'd be bumping. We do so good in our little kitchen for meals, but like up in the snake room, we're just stepping all over each other, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I love as an observer how quickly Mark said we don't want to be in there together, and Cheryl leaned in and like boom, like that was
yeah. No, it's a real thing. You know, if I'm in the room, I have to tell her sometimes I'm not cleaning. Come on in here. Yeah, look at this and you know, whatever it is, come hang out.
Yeah, sometimes we're just in there to like actually enjoy the animals, you know, and be like, come on in. I just got, you know, we have some enrichment like you mentioned earlier on the wall, and we let the snakes just kind of have some free roam time around the room, and you know, the others we will hold or interact with or whatever. So sometimes we go up there just for some downtime, but as far as clean, it has to be all business. At the beginning of the week, I make a list of everything I need to get done by the end of the week, involving everything, the home, the kids, the snakes, just everything on a personal level, and then I assign everything a day. At the beginning of the week, everything gets assigned a day. And then the night before, I say, okay, what do I have on the docket for tomorrow? And cross it off on my list. And if I get ahead and I'm done early, then I'll throw something, I'll add something to the list. But if I don't stick to that list, everything starts to unravel.
Do you find that this is the same with you? Because you got 3 different things going on. So you do a lot of planning, I see.
I do a lot of planning, and I am naturally disorganized. In my natural atom solo state, I'll just be surrounded by stuff. Like I don't naturally put stuff away. Like if I don't use it, I don't have it. And if I use it, why would I put it away? That drives my wife crazy. Like that, like we find, and I'm not one to splurge on stuff very often, but we splurged on nice countertops or redid the kitchen. And I was like, she's like, look at all the counter space. I'm like, I know, we're gonna have space for everything. She's like, no, I'll be clear. Why? We got 50 linear feet of countertop and nothing on it. But all joking aside, yes. And before I even got into having 2 or 3 different things, even in a restaurant, the restaurant is such chaos in its natural state that if you don't have absolutely clearly defined roles, and I'm sure there's many worlds like this, but if you don't have clearly defined roles, clear expectations, deadlines that have to be met, doesn't matter how good of a chef you are. If you can't have your prep done by 4:45 for 5 p.m. dinner service, guess what? Ain't nobody going to eat your food. And there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter how good you are. People want to eat when they want to eat. So I forced myself. There's actually, if what I'm saying resonates in the audience, there's a book called The Checklist Manifesto that I have used with managers and future leaders coming up, where I'm like, we get in our heads that we're so good that we don't need lists, or we're such experts at what we do. I don't know, maybe builders think they don't need blueprints or they don't need plans. They can just go do it. And inevitably when we do that, after some period of time, we will screw up. We will screw something up because there's too many fine details in any area of expertise. Otherwise, everybody would be an expert. The details are what make us the experts. Anyhow, the Checklist Manifesto is about a group of doctors at Johns Hopkins University. And essentially, and this is the book's words or the book's ideas, not my words, those doctors' egos were getting in the way of basic checklists, and it was costing lives. And they never quantified whose life was lost because of what mistake. But what they found was when this researcher convinced one little wing, because the other doctors said, absolutely not, get out. They convinced one little wing of this hospital to implement a checklist that anybody could pull the plug on. Any nurse, any orderly, anybody in that room that saw something was wrong or unsanitary or not right could pull the plug on the whole operation, on the operating room. They found statistically survival rates improved. And people lived. They started doing that on airplanes. Any person on the tarmac can stop any flight at any time for any reason that they see for something that's not completed on a checklist. Again, lives got saved. So in that way, Cheryl, I go right back to what you're talking about. I have lists everywhere. I have lists for the show. I have, if what I'm saying resonates with anybody, there's a great app. It's only on Apple products, but it's actually called Things, simply called Things. And its beauty is its simplicity. It's a list that can be organized by priority and date due. And then that's it. Most lists get too complicated. You put it here, you've suddenly got lists of lists. I can't keep track of that. I need, boom, here's what you need to get done, Adam, and here's when it needs to get done. So the real answer, to go back to the root of your question, I get my son up. We do breakfast at 6:45 in the morning. He's out the door on his way to school by 7:40. In that time, I've generally had breakfast and I've generally posted my social media. 7:40 to 10 a.m. I'm cleaning every day, and hopefully I get a chance to do a little recording or record keeping or tidying up, depending on what messes have been made. And then I get on with some of my professional career from 10 o'clock till about 3:30 when my son gets home. And then I'm back to recording content or videos or editing or whatever it might be. And then it just depends. Music ends up taking a back seat sometimes because it pays the least right now, but I love it the most. So it's got value. But I'll rehearse. I always keep a guitar right here at the desk. So, I mean, if I get bored throughout the day, I'll grab a guitar. If I get in or if I get into mental stop or whatever the YouTube version is of writer's block, I'll just switch. I'll just grab a guitar, or I'll try and book a gig, or I'll send a cold call out to a club in Tampa or whatever. So that's me. But yes, it has to get done. And again, you said earlier, these are live animals. My bookkeeping doesn't get done. Well, it'll be there. Hopefully it'll get done on April 14th. Not those animals. That's not the case. That's got to get done every day.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a huge thing. That has to be paramount. I feel a real strong personal responsibility to these animals.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of these animals that wouldn't exist if I didn't put them together and set up the opportunity for them to produce more. So now I brought these things in the world.
That's right.
They're all I got, or I'm all they got.
That's right.
I create the complete environment for them to live and thrive. And if they fail and I did something wrong, shame on me.
Yeah.
Shame. And that's how I feel about it. It's these animals depend on me because I brought them here. So I have to live by that responsibility. So you're right. So sometimes I'm swinging a sledgehammer in the Florida heat sometimes at 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 4 or 5 in the evening, but that doesn't matter because if I got to get in there and these snakes need something, you got to put everything aside. So, we've had to put some things to the back seat for this, but I mentioned earlier about if you love it, it's going to last.
Right.
You got to love these animals. You got to love it. I mean, there's so many aspects of things that hit on what we were talking about earlier, which is something inside of you that you identify with. Mm-hmm. And there's so much of that with these animals. There's so many points, whether it be you know, just enjoying the way that they look, or all the way up to, you know, having a multi-decade project to manifest some sort of selective breeding that you've embarked upon. Everything in between. There's a lot of points in there that I just love about it. And that's why it's going to last. So I got to remember those things when I don't necessarily want to drag my rear end up in there and do what needs to be done. You know, that's the truth. And I know Cheryl feels the same way.
I believe it. Not only do I believe it when you say it, I know it because I've lived it as well. There's ups and downs, and if you don't love it, you're going to get bogged down in the downs. Not to mention, they eat, they poo, they pee. You got to clean it, man. Like even if God forbid somebody didn't care enough for the animal, it's in most of our homes. Like you can't live among animals that aren't cleaned. Like this is unacceptable, right? So so even if a person decided that they didn't like it, they really, I don't believe that they could last leaving the animals in squalor, because they're gonna. I mean, hopefully they'll offer them up or put them out for rescue or whatever right away when that time occurs for them. But no, I don't think that you can maintain it, and that's another reason why I would just say that my wife Kelly is just so like supportive. I mean, there's days where I'm like, you know, I feed every Sunday night, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you don't know what you're gonna walk into when you open the garage. Like that's processing day, you know. That's the so if I've got a busy gig weekend and here's Saturday morning. Too bad, Adam. I don't care that you played till 2 a.m. last night. You got to get up and clean these things. So that's the part of it, and it does come down to the love and the excitement. I think too. I got to think how to put it into words. When you were talking about a multi-year or 10-year project, it's almost like going back to the food or the music thing, where like you remember a certain time in your life from having that meal, or when a song was a hit song, or when you danced with a girl, or whatever those sentimental things are. I've noticed that like I can remember when my first breeding season, I was in the middle of a moving here to Florida. Only two of my girls went because of the move, but it was an exciting time because it was my first season. I didn't care if only one had gone. I had eggs. I conquered the world. I got a batch of eggs, you know? And so I kind of think like over time it's going to be like that. And then of course, like the moments of camaraderie of us having dinner or the times at the shows, meeting people, because those are a grind too. I mean, they're not like a restaurant. Oh, I don't know. I'll find out. I'll start doing it myself. But I mean, to me, they're less pressure than say a restaurant grind or a golf PGA Tour golf tournament or something like that. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is I think I'll be able to over time connect like sentimental thoughts to stages in various projects, you know? Yeah. The nostalgic aspect of it. Yeah. Brings it back around. So, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, let's take a quick break for 1 second, because we've been at this like an hour and 20 minutes, which is killer, and it's flying and clicking. Don't worry, everybody. We're not going to end the show whatsoever. But I do need to say thank you to REDLINE Shipping and to Cold Blooded Cafe. They are wonderful sponsors to me, and I wouldn't be professional if I was to explain exactly what our deals are and that kind of thing. But I can tell you they make this show practical for me to do, practical for me. We just talked about how busy everything in our lives is, to set aside show prep time, doing the show on top of everything we have going on. Those guys make that a whole lot more feasible. And the good news is I think they're at the top of their game, and that they're the best in the industry at what they do. Go check out REDLINE Shipping. Use the promo code PROPER5 for an extra $5 off of your next shipping label, and they'll know that I'm the one that sent you. So I get a little nod from them. Depending, you all use the promo code. And then at Cold Blooded Cafe, if you feed frozen thawed, look, I spent 27 years in food prep kitchens. We want to feed our animals the same high quality care and well prepared meals, so to speak. And their technology is fantastic. They're going from fresh to frozen as fast with the best technology. And that to me is just a sign of what they do and the cleanliness of their animals when it arrives is evident as well. So check out Cold Blooded Cafe. You can use the promo code CBC and the number 5 for $5 off your order from them. If you do order from them, would you do me a solid and let them know that I sent you? Maybe it's worth $5. I appreciate it if you would. Quantifying the value that an advertiser brings to a company is always very, very difficult, but the best I can do with it, I will. And I do believe in that company. I also, no joking aside, and I know I've got these promos kind of down, but I definitely believe in Chris at BNS Reptilia. Chris was one of the very first people to ever sponsor this show. He was one of the first breeders I ever met and had dinner with when he was traveling. He's been a huge help to me. He has sponsored me. I don't think he would mind me saying he has sponsored me both financially and with goods that he represents. Like, what a good dude. Chris deals in ball pythons, boas, blood pythons. I believe he deals in some Morelia and I can't even think of the proper scientific term, but the corn snake, smaller ones as well. So BNS Reptilia, Chris, that's what he does full time. That's it, man. Give the guy a shout. Check out his animals and his inventory if you're in the market. Thank you all to the sponsors. It means the world to me to be able to do this. So thanks very much. Audience, thank you for being here. You know what's crazy is when I look away from the camera, I'm actually looking at the audience comments. So if I look over here, I truly am looking at the audience. Guys, if you guys want to talk about anything, if you have questions, hit us up. I'm going to dive into some fun stuff outside of the reptile world with Marks and Cheryl. I've been jotting down a couple questions. A couple really quick questions, quick trivia. I actually went to high school in Tampa for 1 year. What high school did you all go to in Tampa?
I went to Chamberlain.
Which one?
Chamberlain High School.
Oh, Chamberlain. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I was a Gaither guy.
Oh, you were a Gaither. Okay, so
Yeah.
do I remember right? Gaither was like purple and gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Gaither Cowboys.
And then Chamberlain, were they like a Native American mascot? Are they still that or not?
Chamberlain Chiefs. Yeah.
The Chiefs, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I went to Hillsborough High School for
Yeah,
1 year.
okay. Our rival. Yeah, that's the Chamberlain rival right there.
Yeah, we were decent in those days at football, but I actually
Yeah, no, well, what years? What years were you there, Adam?
gosh, I was there 94. Well, I graduated in 98, so that was my freshman year. So yeah, I was there in 94, 95.
They did have a really strong football program then.
Yeah, we had this running back, Jamal Anderson, not the guy.
Jamal Anderson, Juggy Anderson.
Yeah,
Juggy, yeah.
was
I remember him.
I do too, but I couldn't tell you another one to save my life. But
Well, yeah, he was special.
yeah, he was. I don't. Whatever ended up happening with him? Did he go? What program did he go to?
He definitely went to college and played, but I can't recall. It's been a long time. But I can tell you, that kid ran like Barry Sanders. I mean, you couldn't stop him. He had moves. The kid was like a physical specimen too. I played little league football with him, and then growing up, I went to Gaither High School. So when we met them, when we met Hillsborough High School, we knew what we were up against. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that we were a really good team that year, and I think it was like we got to the state finals or something. But Apopka put us out, man. Apopka, those boys, they were, woof,
they were the juggernaut for a long time.
Yeah,
Apopka.
I don't know if they still are, but yeah, Apopka was, man. Anyway, well, enough about Florida football on the Ball Python show. So on your Morph Market page, before I get into this, let me say, I don't think in life and in people's characters and the way that they live and that sort of thing, I don't think that those things happen in a vacuum. So I think that the way that a person holds themselves consistently is probably how they do most things in life and the care that they take. And I'll tell you, when I met you all, your display was impeccable. I don't think it conveys in the picture, but the care that you all put into maintaining your bodies and yourself was clearly evident to me. Probably not fully evident, but it was clear that you all are healthy and athletic at just on the surface. And then, just the way both of you, there's in a good way, there's an intensity and an urgency to you. And I have to think that flows over to how you care for your animals, what your facilities are like. I don't think that stuff happens in a vacuum. I don't think that you have I don't think it's possible for somebody to have a crappy, uncared for facility, and then one day they get the inspiration, oh, this has to be magnificent over here. Nah, that doesn't happen, man. And I think that really shows with y'all. And I wanted to tell you that. I thought that was important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, we don't do it for the accolades, but it's nice to get an attaboy, especially from somebody that you respect every once in a while. So I appreciate that sentiment, Adam. That means a lot to us. And you're right. We do. We kind of take that same intensity with everything that we kind of approach, whether it be, you know, anything in our personal lives, the animals, our training regimen. And, you know, it's interesting because we get asked a lot because we're not outwardly competitive with other people. You know, we're not the type of people that get into a group and we want to be the alpha in that group, but we are competitive in nature with ourselves. And I know it's true for Cheryl as it is for me. We're always just trying to beat our best. Yeah. And that's a lot of what goes on with our training. And for me, for my breeding programs, you know, I don't necessarily want to be better than anybody else. In fact, I want to see everybody I know make some really cool stuff, and I want to enjoy what they're doing, you know, and it doesn't matter how they got, you know, who gets there first. Let's just make some really amazing things. And, you know, I'm not trying to compete against other people with my breeding projects. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just trying to be better or make something better than I have now with what I have. I want to increase the vision of what I'm seeing. So we do that, you know, and it's nice that people it's palpable, you know, it's cool that it's palpable and people are checking it out and digging it.
Yeah. Palpable is a great word. And, you know, Jeremy is always timely. He vouches that you're intense in yard work. Now hang on. Does that come from the recent hurricane work that you guys did? Did you guys jump in on that trip with Jeremy?
Yeah, I would say it is. But I'll also say this. Jeremy's not a pushover.
Oh, Jeremy can go. Yeah, Jeremy can go. Hey,
I mean, as far as I was concerned, I was just trying to keep up with Jeremy.
He's excitable as well. Those are the other. I thought that this was another great example, both of people I'm proud to call friends, but this community. To correct me where I'm wrong here, after the last hurricane came through, some friends I think had offered to open their doors to anybody that needed to get out of Dodge because there was uncertainty with where that hurricane was going to hit. Yeah. And geographically in Florida, it took a hard east cut. At the last minute, and that's when it hit Punta Gorda and really devastated that area. Yeah. And I guess a group of breeders or enthusiasts, industry hobbyist friends went down to help out the people that initially had opened their doors to everybody else. Yeah, it's that, you know, for us it's important. I guess the mentality is there where you can't help everybody, but if you're going to call somebody your friend and you know that they're in trouble, you're going to help them. That's right. You know, that's what you're going to do. You're not going to ask twice, and you're not going to say, well, can I make it? No, you're going to make it. Yeah. Or otherwise, how do you call the person your friend? And when people need things, they need things. And, you know, it's not all the time, but when they do, you got to help. That's just, I mean, I just think that's the right thing to do. How else do you see it? You know, how else do you see it? I don't think that you can. And I think that you have to even say, I think you have to go further and say, I might want to help everybody that I can, but I at least got to do something. We can get overwhelmed by what we want to accomplish and that we're not able to because we're humans, but that we shouldn't allow ourselves to get paralyzed. And I see that a lot where we go, well, I want to do this or I want to do that. You know, I find that with giving and particularly around the holidays, but throughout the year, my wife and I, we try, and she's better about it than I am. She's a real saint in this way, but we try and find causes to give to throughout the year. And there's so many good causes. I mean, I won't even get into it, but there's so many good causes. And okay, don't get paralyzed or don't talk yourself out of giving for any reason because you say, well, I can't cure everything, so I'm not going to cure anything. Okay, how about you take one step? How about you give, even if you get one person one more meal, like how special is that, you know? Yeah. So anyway, the ripple effect is real. Yeah, it is real. And a lot of us thinking things are real and doing a lot of little things adds up to really big things, I think. So that's there's my 2 cents on that. Anyway. Sure.
Yeah.
So I found, let me see if I can make this work. It was a point of discussion. Let me see if I can find this thing here. Hang on just a second. All right, here it is. I promise you, this is, I toured this way in Florida. This would have been January, this was January 2020, right before COVID, matter of fact. Boom, there, that's me. That's the beard. Let me see if I can zoom it in. There we go. How about that?
Yeah, Adam, that's a glorious beard. I mean, that thing has got girth.
That is a North Carolina man. Like, I look like I'm about 62 in that picture right there.
Yeah, you look like you got some years.
Beard's definitely at age.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
And hey, Adam, it's dark. I mean, you got a really dark beard. Yeah.
It's dark and thick, although I could tell you the restaurant has put some more grays in it since then. But yeah, that was it. That was the last run. That was the last hurrah for the beard of that size, though. I have not gone back down that path in a few years right there, though.
You did it.
Yeah. Those that doubted, there it is. So on your morph mark, I talked about taking care of yourselves and the intensity and the urgency and how that relates to your animals. On your Morph Market page, you talk about something called the NPC stage. You want to tell us about that and what that is?
Jump in, Cheryl.
Yeah, that's kind of how we met. I had always thought about competing, and I think it was 2011.
What is it? What's the competition? Tell us, what's like the one word that describes what it is? I know what it is.
Well, it's a bodybuilding show.
Oh, yeah, bodybuilding. There you go.
Bodybuilding for sure. And NPC is National Physique Committee, and it's one of the higher ranking committees that you can compete under. And I had always wanted to try my hand at it. And 2011, I met someone that introduced me to a retired pro bodybuilder, and I trained for my first show there, and I started competing in 2011. I did one show, and Mark's competed as well.
No, hold on. I'm going to make her jump into this because this is what's amazing. Talk about your one show, how long you had until your first show, and tell them what you did to make it into that first show, and then how you ended up.
Well, I had never even been to a bodybuilding show. I had just heard that, you run into people from time to time and they're like, hey, you'd be really good at this. You kind of have a good structure, et cetera, et cetera. And so I met a coach, and she says, well, I want to, just meet at Starbucks, and I want to see what you're all about and talk to you first before I, agree to do anything. I was a single mom, so I didn't have any money whatsoever. Yeah. And so we met at Starbucks, and she looked over at the table and she said, you have to give up everything. Your friends lose their numbers, you're mine until we do a show. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what that means, but okay. I had no idea what I was getting into. I always did my workouts from home, so I wasn't familiar with a gym setting or anything like that. And she's like, well, I'll see what shows are available and I'll let you know. And she called me back 4 days later and told me there was a show in 5 weeks. And here's your meal plan. There's a show in 5 weeks. And the training was on me to do it. Like, she didn't give me no workouts. She said cardio every day. She would give me a time frame for cardio. And I found a gym membership, and I walked by the machines, and I looked at which body parts were red, and I knew that's what it would train. Right. I was a single mom. We had no TV. We had no smartphones. I had nothing. I was just starting out with
what year was
kids.
this?
2011.
2011, she had a flip phone. No kidding.
Yeah.
It was my first cell phone too. Like, it was just a little tiny flip phone. We'd go steal Wi-Fi from the Sam's Club parking lot when I needed to get on my laptop.
Right.
So it was kind of those days, but I was looking for something. And I just did 2-a-days, man. I stuck to her diet, and sometimes it was jump rope in the kitchen before the kids got up for school, and jumping jacks in the parking lot on my lunch break at work. And when I could, and when I didn't have to work out from home, I made it into the gym, and I would train legs and back at the gym. And made it to my first show.
How much weight did you lose in the first 5 weeks?
35 pounds in 5 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
35 pounds. I don't even know how I did it, other than pretty much probably starving myself out. But yeah, the workouts were at least 2 a day.
Let me tell you something about the way she trained. She used to come into our gym, and at that time I was competing too, and we didn't know each other yet. But you know, that was my gym, and yeah, me and my friends, we owned that gym. And she would come into our gym, and she would go over to the Stairmaster and beat the pedals off of that thing. And she would come in with a headband. You know, she always wore a headband.
It wasn't terry cloth.
No, but she'd always wear a headband, and that's what we called her. We said, "Oh, headband's back again." And she'd get up there, and everybody in the gym knew who she was because she looked like she came in with a death wish for somebody. It would beat the pedals off of the thing for 60 minutes, get there, and leave. And there was no kind of like fraternizing or talking or, you know, hanging out or none of that bit. She was all business.
All business, huh?
I don't want friends at the gym. You know, it goes back to that schedule. You know, you have X amount of time. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in anything other than working out when I was there. So it was in and out for sure at that time.
Yeah, very intense, very intense. And, you know, I always found interesting about her story about how she did it. And I lost 35 pounds in 5 weeks. And, you know, I'll let her tell you how she did at the show. But it's interesting because she did all of this because she didn't think she couldn't.
Right.
You know, nobody ever told her that's crazy. 35 pounds in 5 weeks. That's nuts. You're gonna do a bodybuilding show in 5 weeks and you've never competed before and you've never dieted. Why don't you back it up a little bit? Nobody ever said that. Her coach was just like, this is what you're doing, this is what you're eating, make it happen. And it's really a testament to I don't know, if you don't overthink it, you could probably do it.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like, I don't know, but it sounds like that business attitude in the gym where you said, hey, no fraternizing, you know, her eyes weren't wandering. She wasn't there looking for anything but a workout. Because if she had been, one of y'all might have said, hey, that's a dumb plan that you're on. It ain't going to work. And you know what I mean? I'm not saying you. I'm just saying somebody might have. And
you know, feed the doubt. Because I'm a firm believer, like, the mind can really forge the path for you. You know, it will open that doors of opportunity. You know, we used to say when we were training, the body follows the mind. You know, if you believe you can do it, your body's going to respond. You know, it has to be cohesive. Yeah. And I really, you know, I had no idea. She would just say, you know, I would check in every 2 weeks and she would just be like, do this, you know, or eat this, don't eat that. Or I'd call her and she'd tell me to adjust it. And I just thought, like, this is what I do to win the show, you know. And the other thing I had to do was I had a lot of people come up to me and say, you know, Cheryl, you can't compete to win. You're just competing to compete. And I said, I'll talk to you after the show. Like, there were people I just didn't talk to. Like, I'm done with you. Yeah. Because if you don't see my vision and don't dare tell me to compete for second.
Right.
Yeah. For second place. I mean, I get it. There's people that, you know, get second place, but
you can accept it afterwards, but don't plan on it out of the gate.
Right. You need a striker first. I mean, come on.
Yep.
You know, don't waste my time. But yeah, there were a couple girls that I had to say, okay, enough, we're done. Yeah. But ironically, with a little get back, I guess, they showed up at my show and watched me take first place. And they came backstage and apologized. And they said, we're really sorry. You really did do it. So, but it goes back to mental. You know, if you feed yourself doubt and disbelief, you know, then likely you're not gonna succeed.
No, and I don't know why. Maybe we're just all on the same wavelength tonight, but lately I've been thinking a lot about the idea of you just show up with the confidence and the knowledge of what you put in and what you bring to the table yourself. Let other people figure out why they're going to doubt you. You don't need to come up with reasons for people to doubt you. You don't need to come up with reasons that people are going to be dissatisfied. This whole restaurant consulting thing versus being an employee of an owner is new for me. That's not anything I've done for very long before, and certainly without a safety net of another job, which is now where I'm at. I'm fully self-employed right now for the first time in my life. And
congratulations, by the way.
No, thank you. And
yeah.
But you know, I've had to say to myself, like, I don't feel like that day went very well the other day. And I'm like, you know what, Adam, you can look back on what you could have done better, but to think that you need to give the reasons for this dude to be unhappy with you, or to assume or to create some story in your mind when it's his screwed up restaurant, it's not yours. That's why I have the job, is because the restaurant's so screwed up. He wouldn't have hired me otherwise. And, you know, I think it goes back to what Cheryl was just talking about, where you put in the work, you show up, you do what you came there to get done. Hopefully you do it ethically, and hopefully you do it great, but you don't plan on second place. If you get second, then reflect on it and reflect what that means. But going into it, absolutely. Why not? Why? Well, no, you wouldn't plan on that. That's not healthy at all. Yeah.
The overtone is trained to win, and the undertone is trained to win, you know, but to be completely, you know, to disclose everything, it becomes this thing where I'm not competing against, and she'll say the same thing. We weren't competing against the other competitors, because you rarely know who's going to show up at the show.
Okay.
And it's not a matter of, am I going to beat this person, or I got to work so hard to beat these people. It's, I got to do better than the last show that I did.
Mm-hmm.
So if we got first place in the last show, I got to beat that condition. I can't meet that condition. I got to do better than that condition. You know, and if that gets me second, third, or puts me in the middle of the pack, then my goal was to beat my last.
Yeah.
And if I did that, then I win. If I let myself down and I come in and I didn't put in the work, or I cheated on my diet, or I knew what I had to do, and for some reason I didn't do it, then you lost.
Yeah. If it was a bad day at the restaurant for me because I went in there hungover and I didn't take the guy's job seriously, or I didn't respect the paycheck that he's writing for me, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
If it's a mess and I'm there to fix it and I didn't fix it overnight, that's a whole different. The guy hired me for 90 days. Like, of course I didn't fix it overnight. Like,
yeah.
Hey, so I don't know much about this world, but I have a couple, like, just little brushes with it. So do you all do there was a gentleman that at the last property that I worked with and mentored for a long time in a business standpoint, but he was a bodybuilder. He was doing, like, he was only sleeping like 4 or 5 hours at a time, and then he'd get up and he'd eat. Like, he was telling me about, he developed skills to be able to eat without fully waking up, just so he could get back to sleep, kind of thing. Like, am I describing? You all nodding.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you dive into when you start to kind of move your way up, and you want to really push the extremes of what your genetics are capable of, because that's what you're really trying to do.
Yeah.
You're trying to understand the physiology and the way that nourishment compartmentalizes in that process to create the perfect atmosphere to completely maximize what your genetic potential is capable of. So, you know, for a long time, and it's just recently starting to change a little bit, the way that we understand the way muscle is built, and without getting too technical and boring the life out of some people, things are changing. But we used to believe that if you could get some form of amino acids every 2 to 3 hours, then you could consistently be regenerating muscle that you had tore up working out, therefore building more lean mass. So the thought, you know, had crossed our minds at some point, should we be waking up at some point at night to get some food to keep that amino acid drip, so to speak, going, without completely interrupting the REM sleep, which is really beneficial.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of caveats there. So when you interrupt your sleep, you're not only just not getting the regenerative benefits from it, but there's some other things that are really happening to your body that you're going to slow down, stop, or reverse, which are very good at building lean body mass. Like, overnight, if you're healthy, your body's going to produce growth hormone naturally in very large amounts comparative to the rest of the day. So when you interrupt that sleep, that stops.
Ah, okay.
you know, so that's moving in the wrong direction. But yeah, you can get extreme. I mean, it's like anything that people are able to dive into with a passion. It can get so extreme that from the outside it looks crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think it was crazy, but I also didn't. I thought it. Well, I mean, not crazy, but I mean, it was. I was impressed by his dedication. I didn't know the physiology of it or the biology of it, and I don't know. He's not an active competitor anymore, but he was very. Anyhow, I found that interesting. Secondly, this is just a total shot in the dark, and I don't even know if she watches the show. There's a woman on Instagram named Crystal Haney who is clearly a bodybuilder, and she has ball pythons. And then she comments on my stuff sometimes, and I said, well, and then I found out she lives in Florida half the year. I said, well, I look forward to meeting you. And she says, we did meet at Daytona. And I said, well, now I feel like a jerk because I don't recollect that at all. But I was like, how many ball python breeder bodybuilders are there? Maybe you all know. Crystal Haney is her name now. Anyhow,
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when we got into the reptile community together, it was astounding to us how many bodybuilders we knew that we found out were, hey, these people are keeping. I mean, for one, Dave Palumbo was a big one for us. He was one of the first guys. When we were in the body, I had the chance to meet Dave Palumbo because he does the interviews at the shows, and Cheryl was competing in a national level show in Pittsburgh, and I got to chat with him there. But he used to write articles in the magazines, and he was always very to the point and never sugarcoated anything. He was one of my favorite authors. And the guy, believe it or not, Dave Palumbo, from a bodybuilding aspect, is he's a guru. I've watched him train. Yeah, I've watched him train friends of mine remotely, and the things he's able to do to manipulate the physiology of one's body in a matter of days is just simply astounding. But yeah, he was one that we saw, and we were like, wow, look at Dave. Dave's got snakes. Dave's got a lot of snakes. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
But and then we were seeing the other guys and gals that were bodybuilders that had animals, and we were like, we're all right. Like, we got friends here. It was pretty cool.
I felt bad when the first time she messaged me or made a comment. I was like, what is this spam? She doesn't know anything about snakes. Like, there's a clear picture of a performing bodybuilder, and I click, and it's all workout stuff. And then in the middle there she is with a snake. I'm like, oh, look at that. Okay, this is cool, So yeah, that just made me think of it when we got talking. Jason earlier, I think Jason Brown. Jason, you left $10 on the super chat. Thank you so much, man. Anybody that contributes, that goes to caring for the animals, and I appreciate it very much. You had some nice words to say as far as Cheryl and Mark's. And Jason, thanks for the contribution and checking out the show. Marks and Cheryl, where else? Where can people see you vending next? Where can they meet you out and about? Yeah, so we're going to be doing the Orlando show, 21st and 22nd. So we'll be there with you. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, which that'll be fun. Kind of mingle a little bit and see some folks. So we're doing the Orlando show, and then the week after that, we're in Sarasota, which I believe is the 27th and 28th. Those Saturday and Sunday for Sarasota. 28th, 29th, yeah. Which I'm looking forward to that show. I've never even been to that show as a patron. So it's going to be fun to kind of drive down there and see the venue and hopefully meet some people that come up from further south that don't make it to the Tampa show. Right. And then, of course, after that, is it middle February, the Tampa show? 25th, 26th. Yeah, so third week. Yeah, so we'll definitely be at the Tampa show too. So there's 3 shows, and between the end of January and then close to the end of February. Yeah, I'll be at Jacksonville this weekend, Show Me Reptiles, and then I'll be at the Orlando Repticon next weekend. And then that February show, I'm gonna come hang out on Saturday. I can't vend. I've got to be down in Punta Gorda performing the next day, so I'm not gonna stash my animals in the truck. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's not cool. I'm top secret. I don't know. I'm working. I checked with Steve Casino to see if he had any contacts at that brewery in Dade City that we went to. But maybe I'm going to try and sneak in a gig there Saturday night after the Repticon show since I'm already in the area hanging out anyhow, I may as well come play some music and land a gig, and then I'll go.
Put it in go mode, Adam. Make it happen.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna see what I can do. I think it'd be fun. I'll have my fiddle player with me, so it's me and a fiddle player duo, and I know it doesn't sound like rock and roll, but it's pretty fun, man. I promise.
I'm down for some fiddle. Cheryl plays the violin, by the way, so she can dig it.
Okay, well then, if he can't make it, you better come out then.
Yes, 100%.
There it is. Well, look, we've been at it nearly 2 solid hours. I really, really appreciate you being on. I've had a great time tonight, and I want to thank you all for coming on. I think, is this first podcast that y'all have done?
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the
thank you, Adam. Your graciousness and having us on and giving us the opportunity to talk about what we love to do and expand on who we are. We appreciate that. And no, the thanks is all ours, Adam. Thank you.
Well, then it goes both ways. I can leave it there and be thankful. But I'm happy to have you all on. Next, I didn't talk about who I got coming up. Next week, I got Stephen and Courtney from Leviathan Snakes. We'll do our annual goals show. We did one in 2022. And we talk about our goals for the year coming up. But we're going to look back on our goals from 2022, see how we did. Then I have Jessica Hare from the Holdback Rack podcast. If y'all have not seen her and Jana King's podcast, is fantastic. If you like deep dives and maybe getting a little nerdy, they should have called their podcast Nerdy and Dirty. I'm going to talk to them about that. That is, man, that's gold right there. Actually, I just cooked that up. Anyway, Jessica's going to be on. I had Jana on a month and a half, 2 months ago. Jessica will be on. And then I'm feeling like every now and then I bottle up like 2 or 3 different topics of content, and it doesn't quite fit in a traditional video. But I also like doing a solo show once to twice a year. It's been 6 or 7 months since I've done one. So I think the 31st, I think I'm going to go solo, and I'll rant on some topics that I've had bottled up, and then we'll just do a live chat hangout that night. I kind of like doing the same thing with music. At the end of the day, bands and duos and all that are cool, but like, what can you do? You solo on stage, no safety net, all alone. It's good to be able to hang, just to know that you can do that. So the 31st, I think I'm going to go solo this month. So, who knows? Maybe Barcheck will call in the meantime, and, I'll sneak him in. But otherwise, I'll go solo that day. So, Marks and Cheryl, thank you so much. I look forward. I'll see y'all in 10 days, man. That's cool.
Man,
yeah. All right. Thank you for being here. I'll see y'all next time. Audience, thanks so much. Let me see if I can cue up this music properly and get us out of here. 1 second here. Thank you, everybody. Good night.